In the summer of 1895, Seattle and Puget Sound was choked with wildfire smoke. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? But something came that brightened the mood. Today in the Mossback's Den, we are going to talk about when Seattle met Twain. So the Twain I'm referring to is Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, world-famous author. Mark Twain in the 1890s had suffered some severe financial reverses. He didn't go bankrupt, but he was deeply in debt, and he was determined to pay off those debts. And a man came along, Major Pond, and sent him on a world speaking tour. Twain had not done this for many years, but he'd been famous for being able to entertain audiences with stories and readings on stage. He came to the Pacific Northwest, and during his time here, he did performances on stage in Spokane, Portland, Olympia, Tacoma, Seattle, New Whatcom, which we now know as Bellingham, Victoria, Vancouver, and it was a sensation. So when Twain arrived in August of 1895, wildfires were burning. He never saw the mountains. The smoke was so bad when he was here. He was asked about it, and he joked that he smoked all the time anyway. Twain traveled with a lot of cigars in tow. It actually did affect his health, though. He was feeling under the weather, and he was tired from night after night doing his performance in front of packed audiences. When he got to Seattle, he performed at the Seattle Theater, which is at 3rd and Cherry at that time. The crowd of 1,200 people came. They paid anywhere from 25 cents to $1 to hear what was then America's greatest author tell stories for an hour or two on stage. People remarked at the time how successful he was at getting people to laugh, no matter what their level of education and no matter what their social class. After Twain's performances in the evening, he would often retire to a local club where he could meet with local businessmen. And he did that in Seattle, and in fact, he repaired to the Rainier Club after his performance. And he spent another 2 hours talking with members there, drinking and smoking cigars. And we have a record of his visit in Seattle in that he signed the guest registry of the Rainier Club. Right here, Samuel Clemens, AKA Mark Twain. His signature's not that great, but it's wonderful to see it on the page with all the great penmanship of these Victorian gentlemen. It was clear that the tour was testing the limits of Mark Twain's patience. He was sick, he was sore, he was tired, the bad air got to him, and he was deeply in debt. Who wouldn't lose their patience under that circumstance? Twain's book about his tour is called Following the Equator. And he didn't write much about the Pacific Northwest, but in the front piece of that book, there's a picture of him sitting on the deck as they're leaving Vancouver. And it has an inscription below. It says, "Be good and you will be lonesome." And Mark Twain was never lonesome on his tour of the Pacific Northwest. People knew that his speaking tour was in part to raise money to pay off his debts. People came forward and made all kinds of offers. There was a man in Montana, for example, who said that he would pledge $5 a day to pay off Twain's debts.